I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 48 of Tales from Godric's Hollow. The number one podcast to cry about all things Hufflepuff. I am one of your hosts. I am the very somber, the very distraught, the very emotionally wrecked muggle of the show, Josh Brown. I am joined by the man who has put me through so much misery this week, so much pain, so much agony, the professor himself, Matt Sonnenberg.
How you doing, Josh?
Not okay, Matt. I am not looking forward to this episode. I suggested before we started tonight that we just skip tonight altogether and just move on to the next episode.
You know I can't let you do that.
No, apparently there's people out there that are anticipating this episode, that are waiting for this show. I don't know why. It's going to be miserable. We're going to just hug each other and just cry a lot, and it's going to be emotionally rough. I really do not want to record tonight, Matt, but we kind of have to.
Yep. Got to plow through it.
Over the course of this book, we are now near the end of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, right? We're still on that book, right?
Yes.
Okay. It feels like forever since we started that. We've had stretches where I've sat here and said these were the best chapters I've ever read of Harry Potter. These were my favorite. These were the most fun and exciting and just overall best chapters that I've read.
Yep.
And there was no indication when I was, on that high of just excitement and juvenile jubilation that everything would just come crashing down on me the way it did this week, Matt. Like, you just sat there week after week knowing that this week was coming. No heads up, no warning, no nothing.
It's true. And you amplified it even more so last week, because at the end of last week's episode, after reading your notes and everything, you just seemed happy. You seemed almost joyful. It's like Hogwarts is winning, Cedric is winning, and you had no idea what was coming.
No, I was not ready for that, Matt. I was in my head trying to work out how they were going to work out a tie with this thing. And, that was my only concern was, okay, which one of the two champions are going to be the champion? And the thing that really got me is how quickly the rug got pulled out from underneath my feet this week. It wasn't like a slow burn. Like, you gave us 3 chapters to read. Chapters 32 through 34?
Yes.
It wasn't like it was a slow burn and then 34 was, rock bottom. I hit rock bottom, in the first, couple pages. And then I had to sit there for 2.5 more chapters trying to absorb all of this information and trying to take notes on everything and trying to be emotionally stable enough to comprehend what was going on just for the sake of this podcast. And all I wanted to do was just crawl into a ball and just cry the rest of the night. I was gone just a couple pages in. You left me with nothing, Matt. You left me out there just to die, and that's a bad analogy this week, but you kind of did. Although I will say, if we had ended last week with the first chapter of this week, I don't know if I would have continued reading into this week. That might have been it. That might have just broken me even more so. But
yeah, this end of the book, that's kind of where I started. When I was creating the reading schedule for this book, I knew that there were these big events at the end of the book, and I wanted specific cuts at specific places, and I needed to get those in, and then the rest of the book kind of just worked out to, nicely to two chapters a week kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I this was all intentional for sure.
Yeah.
On my part.
I know.
I'll give you that.
I know it was. And I think that's what hurts the most, Matt, is you crafted, you specifically handcrafted the emotional response this week. And I feel kind of taken advantage of for it. I know it's probably going to be good radio. I feel like it's going to be my worst episode yet because I'm going to be a train wreck going forward. But, I mean, if this didn't elicit some sort of emotional reaction from me at this point, people would start questioning how invested I really was into this series.
Very true.
So, if there was a point you were trying to prove with all of this, Matt, I think you nailed it. You have successfully proven that I care about Harry Potter in ways I never fathomed I would.
Yep.
And here we are, me whining and complaining about having to do an episode because I don't know how much of it I can actually withstand this week, but I will do my best, Matt.
I appreciate that.
I'm also suffering from like a really bad head cold, which is not making matters any better at all. I probably sound even worse because of that. Good news is like it might mask my tears a little bit. But man, I'm just not excited for this episode. I'm really not, and I'm sorry for that. But this is what I get for reading the night before we record. Yep. Like I have no time to come down or to bring myself back up from the emotional roller coaster.
Sure. I mean, up until this point, it's always been you've been so excited about the chapters, you want to talk about them right away and keep that excitement going.
Yeah. This
is the first big shift in that emotional state that you've had to deal with in such a short time.
Yeah, this was not good. For anybody out there that has seen the Muggle notes, which you can check out via Patreon, my notes were not. It was not a normal week of notes. I felt helpless writing the notes. Like I didn't feel like taking notes was necessary at certain points because I was just trying to absorb it, and then I would catch myself like, okay, we've gone several pages now and I haven't written anything. I need to like type something because it's all becoming a blur, a very bad blur. And if I don't have some sort of notes, I'm not going to remember the key points here, which there are several key points that we hit in these chapters, but it was just a bad week, Matt. Just a bad week.
Well, we'll try to get through it quickly for you, for your sake.
And you know what? It's not even that I'm mad at you. I think I'm mad at everybody else out there listening as well, because you all knew. I'm pointing my finger at every single one of you. You all knew what was coming. You all knew that this week was the week. Nothing. Not a word. Not a peep from you guys. Like, hey, just watch out. Like, nobody, like, rearranged my tea leaves to give me any signs. Nothing. You're all to blame for this episode.
I think they'll take that on themselves. I don't think they have a problem with that.
Yeah, probably. Just laugh at the Muggle.
Speaking of Muggles,
yeah,
we have something to give away this week.
We do. Riddle me this, Matt.
Well, yes, riddle indeed.
That's not a name I really want to bring up. How did you let me even do that, Matt? That's not even a name I want to hear tonight at all.
It worked out well.
Unfortunately well. What are we giving away this week, Matt?
This week we are giving away a hand-done print that I ordered from Etsy says, "Don't let the Muggles get you down." One of our favorite phrases here on this show.
Which is, I want to counter that and say, don't let the wizards and witches get you down. Because you know what? You guys all brought me down this week. This is not a Muggle issue this week. This is on you.
Well, good thing you can't win this.
That's true. But other people can.
Other people can.
We challenged everybody last week to send in a riddle. Whether it be handcrafted and unique, whatever, or whether, something that they found on Google or whatever the case is. We just wanted people to send in riddles. It was inspired by the third challenge of the Triwizard tournaments, in the Labyrinth, where we had some creature, I don't even remember what it was at this point, because nothing matters. Nothing matters, Matt. The Sphinx, presented a riddle to Harry Potter, and I thought that was pretty clever. I enjoy riddles, and I kind of wanted to see what the listening audience had for us. So all people had to do was send in a riddle, talesfromgodric's@gmail.com, and that immediately made them eligible to win this very cool piece of art that Matt has to give away, the Muggle sign. First I want to say thank you to all of our patrons, because all of the support on Patreon is allowing us to do these cool giveaways. And you could check out more over at patreon.com/talesfromgodric's. Get that out of the way. Let's give this sucker away, Matt, shall we?
Let's do it.
This might be the happiest moment of the podcast. So, how many entries do we have this week? I need to pick a number.
We have 10.
10 entries. Let's see. Cedric was 7th here, correct?
Correct.
Lucky number 7, in honor of Cedric Diggory.
This will go to Chelsea Hayes.
Hey, congratulations, Chelsea.
I think that's a new name for us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What was Chelsea's riddle?
All right. It's a little bit of a longer one.
Okay.
Kind of has basically 4 verses. But
okay. Now, I will say this. Going into, after last week's episode, I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to try to solve a riddle, and I'm going to show off how smart I am, and I'm not in any state to solve any riddles. So if I sit here just quietly and don't have much to say regarding the riddle, it's not that it's too hard. It's just I can't do it tonight. I'm just not capable of doing such things.
Well, hers is definitely an original,
okay,
as far as I know.
Okay.
I haven't seen it before, and it is Harry Potter related. So.
Perfect.
1 of 4, bloodline pure, history and secrets. I buried them low and deep. Listened, spoke, disagreed, left. If you heard me speak, you may not understand, but the last words you hear were my sole command. I left behind my virtues, my beliefs, and one day my work will be finished. Who am I?
Whoa. I'm not even sure.
You could probably get a pretty good guess from the first 2 lines.
Okay, repeat the first 2 lines.
1 of 4.
Yeah.
Bloodline pure.
1 of 4. 1 of 4 champions?
Actually, no.
Oh.
Thinking more broadly of the series as a whole.
A Weasley?
There's way more than 4 of them.
Well, there's 4 at the school now.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, Matt. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Salazar Slytherin.
Oh. 1 of 4 houses.
1 of 4 founders, yeah.
I wouldn't have remembered which one had pure bloodline either, so. I don't even, do we know actually the four? And
well, yeah, the founders may have pure bloodlines, but Slytherin was the one who demanded it for his house.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Like a Slytherin riddle. Come on.
The remainder of the riddles, there are. I was surprised how many originals there were. Not all of them, but probably at least half of them were original. So
I love that.
I think I'm going to go ahead and post them throughout the week on our Twitter account.
Perfect.
I didn't actually check, but I think most of them will actually fit in 140 characters. So
that's pretty cool.
We'll see how that goes.
Worst case, you can always type it up on like Notepad and
it's true.
Take a picture. Yeah.
Yep.
There's creative ways to get around Twitter's regulations.
Very true. Very true. So we'll get those riddles posted for everybody to check out this week. I'll probably just post the riddles and not the answers.
Right.
But yeah, give you something to look forward to.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you for everybody for sending those in. Having fun with this. Congratulations to Chelsea, of course. And stick around for the end of the show. If I'm still around, if I can make it to the end of the show, we'll announce the next giveaway that we're doing. So hopefully we get that far, Matt.
We'll make it one way or another.
Yeah. I guess we might as well just go to the end of the show, right? Like, let's just go to emails and call this good.
No, not yet.
It's not how
yet.
This works.
No. Let's start with chapter 32.
Chapter 34.
32.
Oh, chapter
32.
Chapter 32, Matt.
Titled Flesh, Blood, and Bone. We have no new characters this whole show. I'll just leave it at that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
One.
Is it in this chapter?
No.
Okay.
Man, there's nothing good came out of this chapter.
Okay.
It was another name that I was unfamiliar with, which maybe you can't even tell me about yet.
We'll see.
Chapter 32. Like you said, after last week, I was like, I was kind of riding a high of both Harry and Cedric claiming the cup at the same time. Cedric just helped Harry, didn't have to, easily could have just won it for himself, but decided to be, the amazing young man that he really was, and help out Harry Potter, and really show his true Hufflepuff. And I was like, all we have to do is just settle who won this thing. That's it. And at the end of the show last week, like you were talking you even made mention of the sound of the sound and the lights and everything that happened when they both grabbed the cup should sound familiar. Yep. But you didn't leave me anything more than that. So I thought about it all week, and I almost recorded a Muggle Theories on it. But I didn't have much to go on other than the fact that I assumed that the cup was going to be a portkey. Because that was the only thing I could associate swirling lights and noises and such, which we saw earlier in the book. Exactly,
and that's all I was getting at, is, what's happening when they grab the cup.
Right.
It's a portkey. They're going somewhere.
So, I was going to record a whole episode. I'm like, but I have no idea where they're going. Where would they go? Where in the world would they go? I'm assuming, obviously, the cup was made into a portkey to transport the winner to, I don't know, like some sort of like victory stand, celebration, on top of the podium in front of everybody at the school to claim them as champions. I don't know. Something kind of ridiculous and hokey and fun. None of that happened, Matt. None of that. Harry and Cedric are transported to some old creepy graveyard.
Yep.
And this is not looking good at all at this point, because we kind of started off the book in a weird old creepy place. And it went downhill real quick.
Absolutely.
J.K. Rowling made no attempt to ease into this big event.
No, I mean, like you said, there was no warning. It came out of nowhere. Just take advantage of that situation and throw everybody off guard.
All they heard, they decided to pull out their wands. Like Cedric suggested it first, and Harry was like, "That's a great idea. I'm glad you suggested it because I'm, afraid of everything here, and
Yep.
but I don't want to look like, the weaker one and like pull out my wand first." So Cedric's like, "Yeah, let's definitely pull out our wands." And Harry's like, "Oh, phew, glad you said so because I am shaking in my boots."
It's what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure.
Right, and they're going along. There's like this dark cloaked figure, and I'm assuming this is probably Wormtail. This is probably kind of this area where Wormtail and Voldy have been hiding out. Like it doesn't. The writing is on the wall for bad things to happen. Now,
Yeah.
I did not expect bad things to happen so quickly and for them to happen to Cedric Diggory.
Yeah.
They heard a voice that said, "Kill the spare," and flash a light. I'm not even sure what happened because my mind just kind of checked out for a second.
Yep.
Cedric Diggory was killed. Cold blood.
Pretty much. No blood, really, but
True. We've experienced a couple deaths here at Hogwarts. At least one. One
kind of.
Quirrell, right?
Yeah, but at least as far as Harry's concerned, they've all kind of been like off-screen deaths.
That's true.
Like this is the first one that we really like see.
Yeah. And it's not of like an adult wizard, a professor. It's a kid. It's Cedric Diggory. It's Harry's friend. It's one of like the best kids at Hogwarts. Like he's beloved by everybody. He may have a very overprotective father, but like Cedric is the man at Hogwarts. He's done nothing wrong. He has no history in dubious things that I know of.
Yeah, he's a Hufflepuff. It's not like he was a Slytherin and we're glad to be rid of him. It's
And we spent all book like kind of feeling like we're in competition with him because he is so good, but he's also like he's not just good and talented, but he's good as in like pure-hearted. Like you may not want him to win because you're cheering for Harry, but at the same time, like I don't think anybody would have been upset if like Cedric had won cleanly because like, you know what? He probably earned it, He did everything that he could to the best of his abilities, and I wasn't ready for a death.
Sure.
We've seen kids paralyzed and frozen and, put into very scary situations and whatnot. But
yeah, definitely very close to death or very mortally wounded, but
I don't think any of that prepared me for just a straight up death. And I had to sit there and really question whether or not it just happened because it was so quick. It was so instant and Cedric is dead.
I think part of that goes to show, though, like this is the first time we really spent any good amount of time around Voldemort.
Yeah.
And it starts to show his brutality.
Yeah.
His how much he just doesn't care.
No.
And he's willing to just go out and kill people.
Yeah, and like that's been kind of the story for this whole time about how just bloodthirsty he is for no real reason. Like, didn't seem like he enjoyed killing people. It just was something that he did. Like, that's just synonymous with Voldemort, is killing people. And it's different when you hear about him killing like a whole group of wizards, or like slaughtering them one by one throughout the countryside, or whatever the case is back in the past, or stories of Voldy. Much different when it's a character that you have kind of grown to love over the course of a book and really cheer for and expect good things from, to just be killed like that, man. Like, that's... What was it like reading it for the first time when you did, Matt?
Even though I got to plow through the book, like, we're not letting you, like, it still comes as a huge shock, a huge surprise. Like, this is probably one of the most shocking events in the series, especially up to this point, for sure. But even later on, like, it just, like you said, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, no one was expecting that. I mean, like, every time I read it now, it's like, yeah, I know they're going to the graveyard. Right. But the first time through, definitely had no idea. Like, you probably, much like you, expecting, okay, transporting back to the beginning of the maze, and they'll figure out a winner.
Sure.
But even when it doesn't go there, yeah, you don't expect death right away. You might expect a fight or something, but...
an injury, something.
Yeah.
Not just dead.
Or just, like, petrify him or something, stun him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did have a little bit of the same reaction you did. It's like, is he really dead? Did that really just happen, or is there some way to bring him back?
Right. And I don't know. Like, I mean, by the end of this, reading, it was pretty clear that, Cedric is no more.
Yeah. I mean, the spell that was used, Avada Kedavra, I mean, there's no way to block that curse. There's no way to come back from that curse. Like, it just kills you.
Yeah, that's it.
Unless, of course, you're Harry Potter and you find ways around it. But
sure.
For anybody else, you get hit with that spell, you're dead.
Yeah. So instantly, so out of nowhere. I was in shock. I sat there listening to the words, and I tried to comprehend everything that was going on, but I was just in shock. I didn't want to really admit that Cedric was dead. Like, we would lose a character like that, which I know is probably important because this is going to set off so many different storylines and so many different emotions, not just for Harry, but everybody at Hogwarts.
Yep.
Like the ramifications of this death are, I can only assume, are going to carry the next several books in the series.
Yeah. It's just, it feels kind of wrong because it's someone we're just getting to know.
Yeah.
Like, I think it could have been even worse if it was someone we knew for a long time. Like, if it was one of the Weasleys or something like that, like, killing them right now, I mean, I think that might even be harder to take. Sure. But still, it's hard enough because Cedric did pop up. Like, I know we mentioned, I think he was originally introduced in book 3 as the Quidditch captain, just briefly.
Right.
And then he was all throughout book 4.
Yeah.
But then by the end of the book, he's gone.
Yeah. Like, we barely knew you, Cedric. We barely knew you.
Yeah.
It's just tragic. And like I said, I have full faith in thinking that it was crucial to kill off a character like this in this way to kind of, like you said, cement Voldy and, his outlook on life and death, where just, life doesn't matter to him. Other people's lives don't matter.
Yeah, he has his plan, and no one's getting in the way of it.
Right.
He only wanted Harry, and just the way he phrases it, kill the spare.
Yeah.
Not kill that other guy.
Right.
Over there. It's just kill the spare.
Because, it all kind of made sense where it's like, obviously, the cup was turned into a portkey by Wormtail and, Voldy in some matter to transport them there with the thinking that Harry Potter was going to be the champion.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was the whole plan, knowing how good Harry Potter is at things. Harry Potter would probably win the thing, be transported, done and done. They didn't expect anybody else to be holding on to that thing when Harry Potter did as well.
Exactly. It definitely wasn't supposed to be two people. I mean, can you imagine how upset he would have been if just Cedric had grabbed it and not Harry?
Yeah.
That'd be a whole different story.
It would be. But I don't think the other few chapters would play out the way they did. Yeah, it was just like Cedric being humble, being gracious, and being a good person, basically being a Hufflepuff, led him to his death.
Yes.
And that is the most heartbreaking thing. It wasn't trying to be brave and courageous and like take on, the bad guy and lost. Like, he was being a good person and was killed for it. And I could only hope that his death is avenged. I am mortified by the ramifications of this. I immediately thought of his father, who is just so proud of him, who thinks the world of his son, who kind of liked to rub it into Harry Potter's face that, Cedric had beat him at Quidditch and might have been better at him at something. I worry what this is going to do with that. Will there be vengeance to be had? The entire Hufflepuff house is going to be Hogwarts. 3 of the 4 houses at Hogwarts are going to be destroyed by this.
Sure.
I can't imagine Slytherin are going to care too much. But like, all those poor Hufflepuffs, like, going into this tournament, like, there was the understanding that, the champions would be facing life or death situations. But it's not like this. Exactly.
This was not part of the tournament.
Yeah.
This was not the professors and headmasters did not plan this graveyard. It was not part of the task. Grabbing the cup was supposed to be the end. And they made it that far.
Yeah. I also, the only other thing that I was thinking during this chapter was, I am really, really upset that Wormtail was let loose at the end of book 3.
Yeah.
How much of this would have happened if he had been killed or, captured the way he should have been.
But like you said, that was basically, once again, because Harry was being a good person.
Yeah.
That's how Wormtail was able to escape.
Right. Chapter 32, the worst chapter in Harry Potter history. I never want to read that chapter again, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Let's move on to chapter 33, Matt.
You just want to move straight ahead?
I mean, what else is there to say? Like, Voldy's back, sorta. He's a hideous creature of, unthinkable looks and...
Yeah. Very vivid description.
look, it's just a whole mess of a chapter, Matt. Like, there's nothing that we could even say to give justice to anything. Cedric died. I don't know what else to say about that chapter, Matt.
I understand.
Is there anything else you want to say about it?
No, not. I mean, yeah. It's just the rest of it is the, I guess, ceremony to bring Voldemort back. So.
Yeah. That was that chapter.
I always love Harry thinking, "Let it drown, let it drown."
Yeah.
Because he just kind of dumps this helpless creature into a vat of water, and it's like, well, how long can you hold your breath down there?
Right. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I'm also kind of bummed that it turns out Voldy wasn't Winky, so that's,
yeah,
I missed the mark on that one a little bit. Yeah. Wormtail cut off his own hand for this. He's just sacrificing himself left and right. And, they used the bone of Voldy's dad and Harry's blood and Wormtail's sacrifice of flesh.
Yep. Created
this really horrific potion, and Voldy,
which we find out later that it is a creation of Voldemort's.
Yeah, like he makes his own magic.
Mm-hmm.
That's frightening.
Yeah, I mean, all magic was created at some point. Like these spells and stuff. Someone had to create them.
Right.
But I think you have to be fairly good at it.
Yeah.
To actually, especially something this powerful.
Right.
So.
Yeah,
he knew what he was doing.
We've just learned of people learning how to do magic, already existing magic like this.
Exactly.
We haven't really dealt with anybody that's creating their own. But Voldy sets the benchmark for a few different issues here. So.
Yep.
Anyway, he rises from the cauldron. He's back. Blah blah blah. This is downhill from here, Matt. This is the beginning of the end.
Major turning point.
I think so. Not looking forward to the next few books. It's going to be interesting.
It's worth it. Don't worry. We'll keep going.
Better be.
All right, chapter 33 then.
Thank you.
The Death Eaters.
Doesn't get any better.
I know. But we do get to learn a lot more about the Death Eaters here. Not only who they are, but kind of what they've been doing or how they operate too. That's one part that I always kind of like to look at is the Death Eaters are a lot more organized than I ever realized coming up to this point.
Yeah.
Like it didn't realize that. I mean, they have this whole basically like a magical pager with the dark mark.
Right.
And then like when they do show up, like they leave gaps in the circle and stuff. It like they have a specific order they know they're supposed to stand in, even though they don't necessarily know who everybody is.
Right.
Like it's like, this is my position.
Yeah.
I stand on number 12
right.
in the circle.
Very strange group of folks.
Yeah, it's very regimented. Voldemort definitely has them trained well.
Yeah. You said there's no new names. There was a name that he tossed out there, and it sounded familiar, and I was having a hard time pinpointing it. I was also very emotionally distraught. But he mentioned Avery. He called somebody Avery.
Yes.
Is that a name I should know?
Avery, well, he's one of the Death Eaters.
Yeah. Does Avery have a last name?
I believe Avery is the last name.
Oh, okay. Have we met Avery before?
I don't think we've actually met him. We've gotten a mention of him earlier in this book, actually.
Was it when what's his name was throwing all the Death Eaters under the bus?
No, actually. I believe this was, I think we were talking to Sirius, actually.
Huh.
I'll see if I can find it again.
Okay. That was the only name that stuck out as me being unfamiliar with, and I assumed there was a good chance it was one of the many names that was listed off as Death Eaters that I paid no attention to, thinking I would never have to remember. But then a part of me is like, well, maybe it's important, because, you know, of all these Death Eaters, he specifically mentioned Avery once again, so maybe I should be paying attention to this name now.
Sure.
The Lestranges was mentioned, and I perked up with that.
It's true, but they're still stuck in Azkaban.
Yes, but when they're released, Matt, they will be celebrated for their vigilance of being in Azkaban and withholding. Not good.
So, yeah, this was back when we were they were visiting Padfoot, and Sirius held up his fingers and began ticking off names. Rosie and Wilkes, they're both killed by Aurors. The Lestranges, they're a married couple, they're in Azkaban. Avery, from what I've heard, he wormed his way out of trouble by saying he's been acting under the Imperious curse, but he's still at large.
Okay. So just to call back to that then.
Yep.
Okay. Fair enough.
So he is in fact still alive, still out there, and still a Death Eater.
Yep. Yeah. So to set up the chapter, the dark mark was revealed on Wormtail's arm, and then all of a sudden the Death Eaters start showing up one after another, just apparating to the graveyard. It's a little Death Eater reunion. It's I like how it was described, like they were super cautious when they showed up, like they were all in disbelief that Voldy was back, that they were all coming back for a legit reason.
But at the same time, like, there's a reason they actually showed up this time. Like we've seen, I don't feel bad mentioning it now, but Karkaroff, when he was talking to Snape about his inner left forearm, and how it was coming back, and then in the beginning of this chapter, we got the description of Wormtail's was bright red on his arm,
right?
But it wasn't until Voldy touched it that it turned black, and that's when everybody came.
Yeah.
So like he has to have like some interaction with it somehow. It seems to like summon them.
Right.
And
it's like it starts alerting, like, hey, something could be happening.
Yep.
Be ready. And then once Voldy activates it, then it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, it must somehow like give them a location to apparate to.
Right.
Because I'm just, it's like, okay, my tattoo's going wild. Where do I go?
Right.
But yeah, it's must be a, like, I don't know if it's a feeling or a sensation that they get from this mark that they haven't felt in years.
Mm.
And
many of them probably thought they'd never feel it again.
Yeah, but like I don't know for sure if like Voldemort is the only one that can actually activate it.
Right.
I mean, it is kind of his mark.
Right.
I'm assuming he kind of created it. Probably more magic he made up.
Sure.
So it's yeah, like you said, they probably thought they'd never feel it again.
Yeah. We got some interesting backstory on Voldy right off the bat, which I wasn't really expecting. His dad was a Muggle. His mom was a witch.
Yes.
His dad left his mom before he was born because he didn't want anything to do with it.
He found out she was a witch, and his dad doesn't like magic.
Right.
I mean, his dad is essentially a Dursley.
Yeah.
I think he would fit in very well.
Definitely. And his mom died during childbirth.
Yep.
Which forced baby Voldy into basically what's the word I'm looking for?
Orphanage?
Orphanage, yes. So he had a rough childhood. Like, I was mad at it because it started making me feel a little sympathetic for him.
Sure.
And I was extremely mad at that because that's the last thing I want to feel for this character. But then at the same time, it's like he didn't control what happened when he was a child. Like, sure, he made choices as he grew up and became who he was that kind of cemented his legacy, but
well, especially when we find, like, he mentions it just ever so briefly, he actually killed his own father.
Yeah. Like that's all he grew up, wanting to kill his dad for abandoning him and his mom.
He has absolutely no problem admitting that.
So it's like I don't want to feel sympathy for him, but at the same time, like it's hard to think of a kid being put in that situation, not understanding things, and kind of without like the love and guidance. You could see how they could go down a dark path.
Sure.
But then you remember that it's Voldy and he just killed Cedric, and it's like, you know what? No, I'm not falling for this. I am not giving you my sympathy at all. It's just interesting. So the Death Eaters are all circled up, and I told myself he's just going to kill them all for abandoning him. Like, he's just going to murder the entire circle in one fell swoop. Like, he called them all there just to wipe them all out.
Especially when he goes on this tirade about, if you're so loyal, why didn't you come help me before?
Yeah. I was like, oh, crap, he's going to kill everybody. I wouldn't put it past him. Like, these are his loyal followers, but at the same time, like, they jumped ship.
Yep.
They jumped on lifeboats when the Titanic was sinking and left the captain there to sink alone. So there was a real chance that he was just going to wipe them all out,
Yeah.
But then again, he does need a legion of followers to help him do his evil bidding, I think. So he thought wiser of that.
It comes in handy. Yeah, he likes sending lesser wizards out to do his dirty work.
Yeah. I mean, why get your hands dirty if you can have somebody else do it for you?
Yeah, with the exception of Harry Potter. When it comes to Harry Potter, he wants to deal with it.
Yeah.
But
Dumbledore is a very bad word in this circle of wizards and witches.
Yes.
Just that name alone just evokes very bad reactions.
It's almost the he who must not be named of the underworld.
Yeah. Pretty much. Which is interesting. Most of them are not fans of old Dumbledore.
Yep.
So we start doing kind of a roll call here.
Yep.
Lucius Malfoy.
Surprise.
Shocking. Really. I wish I could say I'm shocked, Matt, but no, I'm not at all.
Yeah, he fits it to a T.
And there's like not even like any build-up or suspense or mystery, like, who's this guy over here? It's like, no, it's just straight up, yeah, of course Lucius is a Death Eater, duh. Uh-huh. Everybody should have known that from day one. Lestrange's, of course.
I do find it interesting that basically the Lestranges are the only people we meet this entire chapter, I think, who Voldemort really considers faithful followers.
Yeah.
Because like you said, everybody else left, but the Lestranges are the ones who stuck to their guns, said, yes, we're followers of Voldemort, and okay, we got caught, so now we're in Azkaban.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. We're not giving him up.
Yeah. I mean, even Wormtail, like, he threw under the bus for basically only helping him to save his own life.
Exactly.
Lucius, like, he was like, you kind of left me. It's cool you're back, but, it's not like you were a proud Death Eater over these years. But with the Strangers, like, he's like, yeah, when they're out of Azkaban, like, we're having a party. We are celebrating the Lestranges.
And that's the scary part is he actually says when Azkaban is broken open.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, you have a plan for this?
Well, it wouldn't seem so radical until we find out that he's pretty much friends with the Dementors.
Also true. Yes.
So
the natural allies.
yeah. So then it's like, okay, well, this is not going to go well. Since they're kind of in charge of Azkaban, this is going to get hairy real quick. Crabbe and Goyle, names we're familiar with.
Yeah, very, very familiar.
Again, not surprising.
No, but that does kind of make you wonder. Like, we never really get much backstory on Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle. We just see them there on day one at the school.
Yeah.
But it feels like they've been friends prior.
Mm-hmm.
Which would make sense if their parents hung out in the same circles.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously.
Literal circles.
Yeah, yes, literal circles. But yeah, that they would already know each other. They probably grew up together and visited each other's houses and knew each other, played with each other growing up.
Yeah. Well, the parents did secret Death Eater things.
Yeah.
And then, I started thinking, do the kids know that their parents are Death Eaters? How secretive are they? You would think that they would keep the kids out of it. Would they?
In my mind, at least, this is how it works: is that Malfoy probably knows.
Yeah.
He would probably wants to follow in his father's footsteps.
Right.
At this point.
Yeah.
But Crabbe and Goyle, they're kind of the big dumb jocks that, you could either tell them and they would forget, or you don't want to tell them because they might accidentally blab it.
Right.
So I'm not sure which way to go, but I would lean towards they might not know,
sure.
But they've never really put too much thought into it.
Right.
And it's where are my parents going? I don't know. We'll hang out with Malfoy. Okay.
Keep hitting each other in the head. Bludgers. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There were some mystery Death Eaters that were not named.
Before we get to those,
yes.
Did you mention one other name, McNair? You remember him?
Oh, the one that's just going around killing magical creatures?
Yeah, he was the executioner they brought in for Buckbeak.
Oh, I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, we've met him before.
Okay.
He was the executioner.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to give him the satisfaction of putting him in my notes, Matt.
I know, but
I'm too mad about that.
Just so you know, this is not first mention at all for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to forget that he existed, so that explains why he was so eager to kill Buckbeak.
Yes.
That bum. Mystery Death Eaters, we don't know who they might be. And then there was several mentions throughout the rest of the chapter of the Death Eater that's implanted in Hogwarts.
Yes.
No names dropped, because of course they're going to write out this mystery as long as they can. Is it Snape? I want to think it's Snape. I mean, he was a former Death Eater that was reformed and not a Death Eater anymore. Does Voldy know that he's not a Death Eater anymore? Is he the one helping out Voldy within the confines of Hogwarts? It's the only one that makes sense. And it almost makes too much sense for it to be my best guess.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not sure how it makes too much sense to be your best guess, but
because I want to say, of course, it's Snape, right?
Okay.
I don't like Snape. I assume it's probably Snape, but the fact that it was not revealed to be anybody yet, and they're kind of dragging out this big reveal, makes me think it's not who we're supposed to think it is.
Sure. Well, we do have three kind of mystery figures here that he described as one too cowardly to return, one who I believe has left me forever, and one who remains my most faithful servant and who has already re-entered my service.
Right.
He is, and he specifically says then he is at Hogwarts. So, yeah.
Again, it almost seems too obvious that it's Snape. Snape could easily, if we're giving Snape the benefit of the doubt here, could easily be the one that he fears will never return, to his side.
Yeah.
Snape doesn't seem like the one that ran and is hiding. But I think we're supposed to believe that Snape is the one, but I'm just not 100% sure yet. I need to work this out. We might find out in the final chapters of this book. This might linger on until the next book. I don't know. But it seems like all signs point to it being Snape, which makes me pause before throwing my theory into Snape.
Fair enough.
Okay. Regardless, all kinds of mystery regarding these Death Eaters.
Yeah.
One mystery that is no longer a mystery is Bertha Jorkins.
It's true. We basically get a very short synopsis of what happened to Bertha over the course of the book.
Yeah. Apparently she ran into Wormtail in a forest, which nobody should ever say that they did.
Well, I think they actually met at an inn.
Oh, okay. On the edge of the forest, right? Or something?
Yeah, like he somehow convinced her to go on a walk in the forest.
Oh, okay. And Voldy used a memory charm on her to get information out of her, to get everything that she knew, including the details of like the Triwizard Cup and so on and so forth. And then once he was done with her, he killed her.
Yeah, I mean, he basically admitted that all the memory charms he was using and breaking on her, like it kind of just. I kind of picture it as like by the time he was done, her mind was just like deflated.
Right.
Like it just doesn't work anymore. And
sure.
So, yeah, he just got rid of her. Like if he sent her back, they would obviously know something was wrong and something was up. Whereas just someone going missing is a little less conspicuous.
Right. So, mystery solved. Bertha Jorkins killed by Voldy. Shocking.
Yeah. But
also,
it kind of turns out she's like the linchpin in this entire operation.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't have come up with his plan, I don't think, without the information that she gave them.
Right. And just this chance meeting between her and Wormtail led to all of this. So, unfortunate set of circumstances. I wonder if we'll learn more about Bertha Jorkins later on. I don't know. It seems like this character isn't completely wrapped up at this point.
Sure.
So we'll see. I don't know. But we don't have to wonder if she's, out there in the wilderness any longer. She's dead. DEAD, dead.
Yes.
We also learned that the combination of unicorn blood and snake venom equals bad news. That is not a good combination, from what I hear.
Yeah, well, not for us at least.
No. I mean, if you're trying to
worked out well for
things.
Voldemort, but
Sure. Then the climax of this chapter is Voldy basically challenging Harry Potter to a one-on-one battle. He's like, you know what? I can kill you while you're tied up and helpless, or we could do this mano a mano, and I could prove how much powerful I am. He proved that he could touch Harry Potter now.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm gonna get my revenge, and I'm going to.
That was a problem with Quirrell back in the day. So
Right.
Fix that.
Yeah. So he decides to prove how macho he is by basically saying, let's do this. And Whew. Okay. That's the end of the chapter. And I'm still left wondering, is Cedric really dead? Like, that's all I was thinking about by the end of that chapter. Like,
Sure.
we did all this entire chapter, like, there's still no mention of, like, Cedric. Like, is his body still just laying there, like, on the ground? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It was distressing for him to be completely ignored in that book, or that chapter, and a little irritating, I'm not going to lie. But chapter 34 made up for that in spades.
Sure. Before we finish up this chapter, though, I do want to bring up a couple things.
Okay.
We get a couple of mentions of old magic and ancient magic. Did you catch those?
Yes, I think so. I think I know what you're talking about.
I knew I wanted to talk about it, and I know it'll come up in emails later, so we'll touch on some more then.
Okay.
But there were really 3 references when he's talking about how Lily protected Harry.
Mm-hmm. With old magic.
Yep. He said that this is old magic.
Right.
Doesn't go into many specifics. And then
doesn't he also say that, like, he's mad that he didn't, like, foresee old magic being used?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I just like how this kind of expands our knowledge of what magic is or what magic can be in this world.
Right.
It's not all necessarily spells and incantations and learning stuff in school. It's like there was stuff before that. There is this old magic,
right,
that still exists and still works. It's just not everybody knows about it necessarily.
Sure.
The second mention is, he says, an old piece of dark magic in reference to the potion that Wormtail created for him that actually brought him back then.
Mm-hmm.
So that's old magic as well, but dark magic.
Right.
So once again, not something a lot of people are going to mess with or even know about. Like, even fewer people are going to know about, because 1, it's old, and 2, it's dark. So something to keep in mind. But then possibly the most interesting one to me is, he says Dumbledore invoked an ancient magic to ensure the boy's protection as long as he is in his relation's care.
Oh, right.
So this is the first mention we get of it, but do you understand what he's getting at there?
I want to say that, like, you know, Harry Potter has been able to live this life that he has because Dumbledore has basically used this old ancient magic to protect him as he's growing up, to protect him from everything. Right?
So the key words are, as long as he is in his relation's care. Who are Harry Potter's only relatives? Yeah.
Oh.
Dumbledore knew. This is why he keeps sending him back to the Dursleys. You keep asking this over and over. Like, why does he have to go back there? Why does he have to live with them?
Right. I completely missed that.
It's one line. We'll talk about it again in later books. It'll come up again.
Okay.
But this is the first mention of it, and Voldemort knows about it.
Sure. So does that mean he's going to go after the Dursleys? Because if he can't be in their care, then he's vulnerable, right?
That's possible.
Oh, no. Wait, do I care that the Dursleys get killed? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question quite yet.
Sure.
I mean, it would make Harry vulnerable. Interesting. Okay. All right. I'll tuck that one away. Be on the lookout for more things.
Sounds good.
Dark, ancient, old magic.
Yep.
Interesting. Before we get to chapter 34, Matt, I think this would be a good time to discuss the weekly Muggle poll.
Sounds good.
The Muggle poll is put up on Twitter each week at Tales from GH. Matt usually puts it up about 4 p.m. Pacific time of the night that we record, which is usually Mondays, except for this circumstance where it got delayed a day because Matt was traveling across the country. I'm sure everybody assumed it was my fault It was not the Muggles' fault this week. Yeah, the Muggle poll. Matt puts it up there, allows everybody to kind of weigh in on a fun little question, usually relating to the reading that we do for that week, just to kind of get everybody's opinions and thoughts on a certain subject. Matt, what's the Muggle poll this week?
Well, this week, last week, actually, you challenged me to come up with something that you wouldn't suspect.
Yeah.
But I didn't figure I had to worry too much, given this week's reading.
I didn't even think about the Muggle poll at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In any case, I did try to think a little bit outside the box, something I don't normally do or something I wouldn't normally ask or something like that.
Sure.
And there was a line in this chapter that Voldemort tells us that he started inhabiting other creatures, which his preferred animal, his animal of choice, was the snake.
Right.
Which is not at all a surprise to us.
No, but I did like how he say it was not optimal for using a wand.
Exactly. Snakes can't really use wands. They're not good at magic. So, yeah, it wasn't great. But that was his animal of choice. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to know, what if you were basically in his position, what animal would you choose to inhabit?
Yeah, you gave people a few choices, and then I like the other option, let people kind of...
Yeah, I had to leave this one a little bit open, I think, because nailing it down to 4 options would have been tough.
Yeah. So what was the overwhelming response?
Well, the overwhelming response was other.
Sure.
But next up was the deer. I gave you choices of snake, rat, or deer.
Okay.
I figured I'd leave those 2 in there because we kind of talked about them, like Voldemort and his snakes, and then Wormtail mentioned how he communicated with rats in there.
Right.
Throughout the chapter when he was in rat form, which is actually kind of cool, I think. So, I mean, not that I'm a fan of Wormtail, but just the fact that he can communicate with rats and then use that to his advantage to, spread the word or get information or whatever the case may be.
Right. Get directions.
Yeah.
So what would you have chosen?
I kind of like the rat as much as I like. They're small and dirty and they're rodents and that type of thing. Like, I kind of like the idea that, you know, they can kind of run around and no one's going to really bother them too much.
Right.
And then just the fact that there are so many of them that you can kind of get that network of that rat network of information.
Sure.
That it could be kind of fun, useful, I think.
Yeah. I like somebody's response. I don't remember who it was, but someone said something about like just a common bird. So
Yep. A lot of people did go towards a bird.
Yeah.
I think for the flight capabilities usually.
Right. And something like inconspicuous, like a crow or a seagull, or, you know, like something that like no one would like pay much attention to. Like if there was like an owl hanging around where owls normally wouldn't be, like it would be a little suspicious, or like a parrot or something. Some old, you know, like crow or raven or something, like nobody would be the wiser to that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
we had a lot of birds. There's a bat.
Cool.
A couple of cats. Puppy. Couple of dragons.
Ooh.
I think my only problem with dragons, I think they'd be 1, harder to find, and 2, maybe harder to inhabit. Like I don't know how that works.
Right.
Exactly.
And then you're a dragon, and everybody knows that.
Yeah, like you're not hiding then either.
No, there are specific people that are on the lookout for dragons.
Yeah.
At all times, so that'd be difficult.
There was an interesting one for a dolphin.
Ooh.
That could be kind of fun, but you'd be, of course, limited to the water.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure everybody wants me to say giant squid, but then it's like, well, you're stuck in a lake, you know, or the ocean. Sure. You know, how useful is that going to be? So,
yeah.
Unless you're at the right lake, then, you know.
And then we got someone who got creative and said they would be a thestral, but we haven't gotten to them yet, so can't talk too much about that. But I do like that. That would be very interesting creature to inhabit.
I will take your word for that, Matt.
It would.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you for everybody for participating in the Muggle poll.
Yeah.
It's always fun. Let's move on to chapter 34.
Chapter 34. Priori Incantatem.
Okay. I do not remember those words being used in this chapter at all. I'm sure they were. I'm sure I probably blacked out at some point. But I don't remember those words actually being said or used at all in this chapter. Am I wrong?
No. I believe they are not used in the chapter.
Oh, okay. Because by the end of it, I had to, like, process everything. And then I looked back at the chapter name because I was typing it into my Muggle notes. And I'm like, wait a second. Did we ever find out what the heck that meant? I don't think so.
We witnessed it, but it was never actually named, I believe.
Okay. So I'm not totally crazy.
No.
All right. So, chapter 34. We have a duel.
Yeah. Straight up duel.
Voldemort tries to get Harry to bow, but he's not aware that Harry only bows to hippogriffs. So that didn't work out in his favor. Kind of upset him.
So he forced him.
Because that's what Voldy does.
Yep.
And then, I'm starting to invest emotionally into this duel, right? I'm just like, okay, this is going to be like an epic battle here. Like, this is going to get good. I'm starting to get, like, a little bit excited for this. And I'm starting to get totally into the moment. And then Voldy drops the line, die like Cedric.
Yep.
And just a ton of rocks just dropped on my head at that point. I'm just like, what? Why are you just going to break me down like this? Like, I'm trying to invest in this story here. I'm trying to get excited about this. And just crushed, Matt. Because that's the first time since it happened that suddenly it became real that Cedric is dead.
Sure.
You know, like, we were told that he died, but then everything kind of moved forward with Voldy being rebirthed, and then, like, the Death Eaters and all of this stuff. Like, we hadn't, like I just said, is his body still there? Like, what's going on with Cedric? We haven't come back to the fact that Cedric was dead until that line. And it's just, like, one fell swoop, this crushing feeling of, like, yeah, he's dead, and that really sucks. So now I'm angry, and I'm sad, and I'm emotional, and I'm trying to stay with it, and then this duel starts, and, you know, it's on. It's Harry, he's not sure he's ready for this. You know, he's like, I don't know very many spells when it comes to duels.
Yeah, he went back to his second year where he had the dueling club, and it's like, well, yeah, I've only really ever done this once. And what did I do? I knocked the wand out of his hand.
Yeah. Is that going to work on Voldy? Probably not. No.
And if even if it does, it's like he's going to go pick up his wand and try again then.
Yeah.
Like,
and then he realized, like,
stop him.
He's surrounded by the circle of Death Eaters. Like, he's outnumbered. Like, even in the rare chance that, like, he has some sort of advantage over Voldy, he's still completely outnumbered by a bunch of people that are there to serve him in any way that they can. So,
which the number he used surprised me too. He said he was outnumbered 30-1.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. I mean, I know they kind of glossed over. Like they gave us 8 to 10 names maybe, and then said there were others there. But I was picturing maybe dozen and a half. I was not picturing 30. Like, that's a lot of Death Eaters.
30 seemed reasonable to me. Like, that, I wasn't struck by that number.
It's a reasonable amount of Death Eaters, I guess, for him to have overall. But yeah. it felt like more of them were gone or dead or something, and now he's kind of like rebuilding.
Sure.
And so we'll start off with these guys and recruit more along the way.
Yeah. You know, they mentioned that there were several with masks on that, like, he didn't name specifically and so on. So The 30 seemed like a normal number, I guess, to
Sure.
me. So they start dueling. Green light is coming out of Voldy's wand. Red light. Right? Do I have the colors correct?
Yes, because he uses Avada Kedavra right away again, which, you know, his favorite spell.
Right.
Which we always get is that green light. That's the light that's in Harry's dream. He remembers his parents dying.
Sure. And then Harry, did it say what he used?
He just goes Expelliarmus.
Okay. That's what
because he's thinking about the dueling club, and that's
Sure.
what pops into his head.
That's the other thing he knows.
Yep.
And the red light shoots out of his wand, and the two lights meet, and like there's this bright, glowing, white gold light going on in the middle, and suddenly they're stuck in this battle of wands and lights and such. I don't really know how to explain it. Like
exactly. They don't really know what's going on either. Like Harry definitely wasn't expecting this.
right.
Like, and from what we grasp as we go along, I don't think Voldemort was expecting it either.
Sure. Yeah, it was kind of described like Harry's wand. He was like surprised because like his wand was like vibrating and shaking, and he was holding it as tight as he could.
Yeah,
But
something
then-
that never happened before.
But then he looked over and he realized that Voldy's wand was doing the same thing. He's like, "Oh, okay, so this is not a normal thing for either one of us." Like he's kind of surprised by this also,
Yeah.
and that kind of gave Harry a little bit of confidence of like
I think so. Yeah.
that he could withstand whatever was going to happen because he didn't get killed instantly by him, and he was not only defending and deflecting but kind of giving it right back to Voldemort in the same way that he was taking it from him. So there's like this ebb and flow of lights and power going back and forth between the two wands, and they kind of I guess they got raised up into the air like it was so powerfully charged.
Yeah, that's a thing that I always forget about when I read through this chapter. Like I always remember like the dome of light that comes down after, but the fact that it's they're lifted up out of the graveyard and away from all the Death Eaters.
Yeah.
And it sets us down in like this open field so they can like, I don't know, properly duel or something. Like it's just kind of a weird thing. It like I think it was written basically to get them away from the Death Eaters.
Right.
But then
A clear
it puts down
battlefield essentially.
Yeah, it puts down this what is it? A dome-shaped web of light that basically encapsulates them and doesn't let anybody else in.
Right. And they're just holding position at this point.
Yeah.
Neither one really knows what to do to advance the situation. It seems like both of them are just kind of holding steady so that they aren't defeated by the other. But both of them seem to be on the defensive at this point.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think either of them has seen this before. We know Harry hasn't seen this before, and it feels like Voldemort. This is new territory for him as well.
Right.
So, yeah, like I said, both kind of defensive, trying not to lose, and trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah. And then something happened. And I'm still not 100% sure what exactly happened. But, like, this thick smoke started coming out of Voldy's wand.
Yeah.
The tip of it. Super thick, like, very condensed, almost physically tangible, the way it was described.
Yep.
And out pops like the head and torso of Cedric.
There's one thing that popped out before that.
Oh, was there?
Yep.
Oh, a skull, right?
Nope.
No.
A hand.
A hand. Right. A hand. I don't remember the hand. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's Wormtail's hand.
Oh, right. Okay. Bypassed all that, man. That was the most insignificant part. Okay. And blah, 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 blah. Cedric.
Yes.
Okay. This is interesting. And then after Cedric was a man?
Yes.
Did they say who the man was?
They didn't name him in this chapter, but they described him enough you should be able to figure out who he is.
Was it Voldy's dad?
No.
Oh.
You probably won't be able to remember his name, I'm guessing. If I tell you Frank Bryce.
Nope.
Do you know who that is?
Nope. No.
So this is way back chapter 1 of this book.
Oh, the groundskeeper.
There you go.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Because they just described him, and that would make sense because Harry has no idea who he is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a muggle.
Right.
But he pops out and says something like, he really was a wizard, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It was weird that he wasn't named, but it didn't seem like there was a big mystery surrounding him either.
Yeah.
It was very strange. So then I had to pause and did they name him? And I just am still thinking about Cedric, or what's going on here? And then Bertha came out.
Yep. Which we found out he killed earlier.
Right. And it's okay, now we're just running down the people that he's killed. This is the spirits of his victims. And that's all. It was okay. Having Cedric back in even that sense, was. It was nice to have kind of that little bit of closure with Cedric.
Yep.
The other two, I'm just okay, fine. But it was painfully obvious where it was going. Where this was going to lead to. And I didn't think I would have the emotional reaction that I did when it happened. Because after Bertha came out, another lady came out. And it's and immediately, you just know. You just know, right? And it's Lily Potter, Harry's mom, and it's just that was so crushing. It was. They were there to help Harry, and it was nice to have this backup in whatever form possible, and it's nice for Harry to have some sort of connection with them. But it just made everything so much more real and unnerving to see that these are the souls, the spirits of the victims, coming out to help Harry Potter in this. And having his mom come out was really hard emotionally, and then you knew the coup de grace was going to be James Potter coming out, and I lost it. I was just this is too much. This is first we start off the reading with Cedric dying all of a sudden, and now we're ending with his parents coming back in some form to help Harry escape, and Cedric, and all of this entire ball of emotion just unraveled all at once, and I was gone. I lost it, and it's hard not to tear up now, just thinking about it, because I'm just imagining this dumb 14-year-old boy having to deal with this all at once. It must have been tough. It must have been real tough.
What I think it makes even harder is that this is Harry's first real conversation with his parents.
Right.
He's seen pictures of his parents. He can vaguely hear his mother's voice pleading in his dream, but obviously he can't talk to her there.
Mm-hmm.
and we know he saw them in the mirror,
Right.
the mirror of Erised. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he saw them, but they just smiled at him. He never got to talk to them. They didn't talk to him.
Right.
Nothing.
He just sat there and observed them.
Yep. This is the first time since he's been growing up, since he was an infant, that his parents are talking to him and he can actually talk back to them.
Right. Yeah. Very unfortunate circumstances, mind you. But yeah, it's powerful. And I guess like the most surprising thing was that they weren't there to help fight or help Harry defeat Voldy. They came out essentially to act as like a barrier, a shield to
temporary shield,
allow Harry to break this duel that he was in with Voldy and just make a run for it and get back to the port key and head back to Hogwarts. You know, like they were there just as a distraction.
That's all they could do, really.
Yeah. When it was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. You know, like this isn't the time for Harry to like have a full on battle with Voldy. He's clearly not ready for this. He doesn't know what's going on. They're not there to help him battle. They're just there to help him escape and to get home.
Yeah.
And that was powerful. Like that was incredibly powerful. It reinforced the vulnerability of Harry Potter. Because he is still just a dumb 14-year-old boy. So it was... I was emotional. I was crying. Like it was very powerful. And then, like, just when I think, like, okay, you know, obviously we'll be back with the Potters. Like, this isn't the last time we're going to see them or talk to them. Cedric, like, looked over at Harry and said, "Take my body home."
Yep.
I was done. I lost it. I was like, that's not how I wanted to end the chapter, the reading for this week. Like that suddenly made everything all too real.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh man, like he can't just leave Cedric's body there. Like he has to take him back because he can't just disappear with Cedric and then come back and then all of a sudden he's by himself and like have to explain all this. Like he's going to have to explain all of this anyway.
Yep.
But to explain all of this without bringing Cedric back to his family and his school and everything, like how hard that would have been on Cedric's family. And like I was done. And I was like, Harry, do whatever you can. You know, like he took off running. The Death Eaters decided to finally intervene and they were trying to stun him per Voldy's commands. And he just took off and he got to Cedric's body and realized he can't deadlift this. He's
especially on a broken leg.
Right. He's not committing any superhuman strengths of feats of strength. And then we saw, you know, a callback to the tournament when he learns the ability to summon things to come to him.
Yep.
I appreciate that. And he brought the cup to him and he grabbed on and whoosh, off he goes with Cedric's body in tow. Oh boy, that was a lot, Matt.
It was. They're heavy chapters, I understand.
Yeah. I mean, between 32 and 34, like 32 was like the shock, and then 34 was just like the emotional just dump, just too much. And thankfully that was the end of the reading for this week, because I don't know if I could have handled much more than that.
Yep.
We only have 3 more chapters. I can't imagine that there's going to be a lot of fun and jubilation going on in these last 3 chapters.
Yeah.
Because Cedric's dead and Hogwarts needs to deal with that. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of fallout from this. who's going to believe Harry? Who's not going to believe Harry? Because Harry's the only witness to all this.
Exactly.
That will, say anything. Obviously all the Death Eaters there, but they're not going to come clean. So, Harry has to go back and convince everybody that Voldy has returned in full form. He's going to sound crazy. People are not going to believe this.
You're catching on fast.
Voldy's supposed to be dead and gone. Even the murmurs of him possibly still existing in some shape or form, people weren't even buying. And they're just like, no, he's gone. He's been gone.
Yeah.
So now they have to go from that to he's completely rebirthed. He's back in complete normal form. He's just as powerful as he always was. Oh, and now he's just killing random people because he wants to. Great.
Yep.
So I don't know. These last 3 chapters, I have no idea what to say. And I feel even more confident knowing that I've been saying all along that this book was going to be the first book to just kind of leave things open-ended, because
sure.
I don't know if there's anything to really wrap up anymore. There is just so many
Voldemort's
things.
Back. Here we go.
This is the start of something much bigger,
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm really mad at these chapters because for 3 books, they've been fairly lighthearted, fairly easy to read. There's been some moments, but overall, I still always felt good reading them and getting through them.
Sure.
Now I just feel beaten down, and it makes it really hard to be excited to keep going, because now I know that this is a pivotal turning point in the story where the first 3.5 years of Harry Potter at Hogwarts was pretty easy sailing. Going forward, it's not going to be. There are things coming that people may not be ready for, and this was a turning point, I think.
Yep. Sounds about right.
That's all I have to say about that, Matt.
All right. Well, speaking of next week's chapters, like I said, we are finishing the book next week. Chapter 35, 36, and 37. I will put this out there. I know some people already read ahead, but for those of you who haven't and you block out time to read this every week, it is going to be a longer reading. Mm-hmm. This is, I believe, our longest reading of this book, sure. But it didn't feel right to keep one chapter for a separate week or something. So we're just going to finish the book next week, plow through it. I know everybody wants to. Everybody's looking forward to it. So there you go.
Yeah. Also, this might be the first time where I am simultaneously excited and completely frightened to watch the movie. There are so many good things in this book that I'm excited to see brought over into film adaptation. But then there's this whole ending of the story where it's just, I'm not ready to see this play out in live action.
Sure.
So it's going to be a very interesting movie experience this go round. I'll tell you that much.
I believe it.
More so than past movies. So, do we get any emails this week, Matt?
Oh, did we ever?
Oh boy. All right, let's see if we can get through this.
All right. We'll start at the beginning as we always do. Quick email from Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Just wanted to say, hey guys, another great episode about last week. I love Josh talking about Rita Skeeter being an animagus. I can't wait for his next theory episode. Rita Skeeter is Crookshanks. He knew it all along. Well spotted, Josh.
Maybe.
Keep up the top shelf entertainment.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Got an email from Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Says, hello, guys. Normally, I would make some joke about trying to get the first email on her twice in a row, but considering this week's chapters, it seems inappropriate somehow. Cedric was lying spread eagle on the ground beside him. He was dead. someone actually spoiled me for this particular death in the series because the Braille book came out so long after the print one. But these two sentences had a strong effect on me anyway. There's no poetry in them and no way of misinterpreting their meaning. They are harsh and cold. This is our first instance of actually witnessing Voldemort killing just because he can't. And it's awful. And then we're throwing into scenes of torture and cutting off hands and giant snakes and Death Eaters. And hey, guess what? This is marketed as a children's book. Surprise, kids. I've never really thought about it in that light, but yeah. But I mean, like you were saying, Josh, this is kind of a turning point, and the first three books were kind of lighthearted, but gotta turn somewhere.
Yep.
So Matt, you probably know this, and for all I know, you plan to discuss it in the episode. I almost did, but anyway. But the original U.S. edition, James and Lily appeared out of Voldemort's wand in the wrong order. James came first, and then Lily.
Interesting.
My poor battered Braille copy is that way too. Joe said later that it was a mistake that happened in editing, but man, did it send us down a rabbit hole of crazy theories for a while. Yeah. So I have heard that. I think it might just be like the first printing of the U.S. books.
Okay.
And I think it's just the U.S. books. I don't think it was that. I don't think it was wrong in the U.K. But for whatever reason, like some editor was reading through this and thought he was correcting something, and so he switched the order of them. And somehow it got through, some approval or whatever. How I honestly don't know how all that book editing stuff works. But
right.
There are books out there printed that have James and Lily switched around.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it really confused some people for a while. Because like the story has always gone that killed James, and then Lily was standing in front of Harry and had to kill her too.
Right.
When we see them coming out of the wand here, obviously in reverse order of everything that happened, it seemed wrong.
Yeah.
But
I can see how that would definitely spin some crazy conspiracy theories.
Exactly, because people are always looking for theories.
Yeah, trust me, I know.
It says, and of course there are still unanswered questions at this point. Any chance we'll get a Muggle Theories episode this week?
Yes, if I can finish processing. I need to get through this episode of recording to
sure
get through my emotions, because there are definitely some things I'm still thinking about. But no promises. I really hope to. But yeah, getting through this episode was priority number one to kind of process everything.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Next email from Devin.
Hi, Devin.
Says, hey, Matt and Josh, I've been listening to you guys for a few months. I work as a janitor / groundskeeper, so I'm a mix-up of Filch and Hagrid. All right. Your podcast helped me get through work, but I wish you guys would put out more than one a week, but I understand the hard work it takes to produce them, so keep up the great work. It says, I also dabble in photography, and I'm including one of my latest photos inspired by the floating candles in Hogwarts. Josh, I'm going to send you a quick link to his Instagram that he mentions here.
Okay.
I'll be sure to post this on our Twitter account sometime this week, so
sure.
If anybody else wants to check it out. His Instagram handle is Pass the Syrup.
Okay.
I'll just make this easy for you here, though.
I like that name, by the way.
So he has a bunch of pictures here, but as of this recording, it is the third one.
Yeah.
In his stream with the floating candles.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So he actually titles it with a quote from a later book, so everybody else will appreciate that.
I appreciate it too, Matt. I just don't know why.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll appreciate it more when the time comes.
Sure. Oh, those are really cool photos.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have no problem sharing those because
sure.
good stuff he's got going on there.
Cool.
It says, hope you guys like seeing some Harry Potter magic brought to life.
Definitely.
Since Josh is the muggle of the show, once we get through all the books, does he become a wizard? Maybe then we'll get to hear Hagrid yelling, "You're a wizard, Josh."
Undecided.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of wonder about that too. It's like, will you forever be the muggle?
I mean, probably, because I took so long to get to this point. Like, I feel like it's
Fair
just,
enough.
part of me at this point. I don't know. That'll be up to the readers to decide if I graduate to wizard or not.
Sounds good. Next email from Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay.
Says, hi there. I started listening to your podcast at the beginning of Goblet of Fire, and it has quickly become my favorite of the Harry Potter podcasts that I frequent. I was introduced to the books at such a young age that I don't remember reading the first few, so I'm having a lot of fun listening to Josh experience them for the first time. I can't wait to hear what Josh thought of the next 3 chapters. It's such a huge turning point for the series. I feel like I have more to say now, but now that I've finally sat down right, I can't remember anything. I used to work in Diagon Alley at Universal, specifically in Ollivanders.
Oh.
So if you guys have any questions about the park, for example, which rides Josh can go on now, or literally anything about the wands, I'd be happy to answer them. Quick question. Will you guys take a break between this book and the next one?
Well, as we do with every book, we will take a week break to watch the film.
Yep.
And discuss that. That kind of equals our breaks between books.
Yeah, but that's about it.
Yeah. Anything lengthier than that, then people forget that we exist, and they move on
people
to
would riot.
apparent other Harry Potter podcasts. I mean, I only know of one other one, Witch Weekly. Any other Harry Potter podcasts I am not aware of. But I'm sure others would pop up in our absence if we were to take too long of a break. So we have to be vigilant in our weekly podcasting. And
Constant vigilance.
So yes, our break will consist of us just watching the movie and having fun with that, and those are always fun episodes to kind of separate the book that we just finished and the one that we're about to start. So
yeah. So for the record, her name is Lindsay Riddle, and she did mention, yes, that's my real name, and yes, I am part Slytherin.
Lindsay, we're not friends anymore. I'm sorry. It's been nice having you as a listener, but
which was awesome because not only this, I mean, obviously Tom Riddle, but then she also sent in a riddle this week,
right.
And it just fits so perfectly that this was the first week she wrote in. So thank you for that, Lindsay.
It's been nice knowing you, Lindsay. It's cool. Matt, you
right.
can still be friends with her.
All right, I plan on it. Next email from Martha.
Hi, Martha.
Says, hello, Senior Josh and Senior Matt. Thought this was a must share. Josh has already started to plan a Goblet of Fire Halloween maze, but this might get the magic eye rolling for a new idea. I'm not sure if in your part of the Dark Forest you have these escape room attractions, but here in sunny Southern California, they're popping up everywhere. They give you an hour to solve a clue or code or to escape. I haven't tried it, but this one got my attention. Sadly, Michigan is a bit far. So, okay, first of all, I do kind of want to know, have you, are escape rooms as big up in the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah, Portland started getting them last year. One's actually coming to the mall here in Vancouver, opening up shortly. So they are popping up. Regarding the Harry Potter themed ones, when Val and I went down in November to Anaheim to visit Brett,
Sure.
We went to an escape room, and I can't remember what it was called, but we had a chance to go to a Harry Potter one, but we decided that maybe that wasn't the best idea for me to go
for
to.
someone who hasn't, like if we haven't previewed it, like They could have anything in that room.
Yeah. So I had the option and politely declined the Harry Potter themed one, even though I was very curious. We did do another one instead, but
sure,
the opportunity was there, so I know they exist.
Yeah. I haven't been to an escape room myself yet. I want to go sometime, but I mean, it's one of those that's obviously better as a group activity.
Absolutely.
So, yes, like we even have an escape room here in Eau Claire, apparently, which I just recently found out about.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, this one in Michigan, like if I ever, like I usually try to stay away from Michigan. It's not my favorite state, but if I ever make it over there, I'll have to try to check this one out. It's for anyone wondering. It's I guess called the place is called Escape Room Novi, and they have a bunch of different themes. But this, I guess it's starting this August. They'll be offering a Harry Potter theme. The room will appropriately be called School of Magic. So, yeah, that could be interesting.
And you can find escape rooms that are like themed, like licensed themed, like Harry Potter and stuff. And then there's ones that are just like more generic. There's all kinds of different themes that you could go for. There was one that I read about here in Portland. It's a zombie themed one where they have an actor playing a zombie in the room.
Oh, I think I've heard about this
and it's chained to the wall.
Yeah.
To one of the walls where a lot of the puzzles, you have to venture to that side of the room every so often.
All the clues are over there.
Right. The thing is, it's a normal 60-minute time limit, but every 10 minutes, the chain gets a couple feet longer on the zombie. So, like, the longer you take, the more range the zombie has in this room. And once you're attacked by the zombie, like, you are essentially out of being able to help the others solve the room. But frightening, like absolutely frightening, right?
Yeah. Someone figured out a way to give the escape room a twist.
Yeah. Like I'm going to do with my Tri-Wizard Tournament Maze Halloween Haunted House experiment.
Yeah.
The empty haunted house.
Yes. Good times. All right. Next email from Jason.
Hi, another Jason?
Another Jason.
Okay, not same Jason.
No.
Okay. Hi, Jason.
And I'm up to date.
About time.
I've refrained from emailing up until now, so I can be current to the conversation, opinions, and wild theories. Matt, thank you so much for inviting the Muggle into this world. I've been nodding my head vigorously, shaking my fist with rage, even cursed, swearing to us Brits over the past few months. But you've both done a wonderful job with the podcast.
Thank you.
I think I was probably one of many to tweet Josh a year or so ago, telling him how great Harry Potter is. But of course, I got the stubborn response of maybe one day. With that in mind, I'll say my goodbyes for now. But Matt, I really do question if you're a sociopath or displaying psychopathic tendencies with the way you string him along each way. With the way you string him along each week. What a poker player you must be. Have a nice week.
It's true. You are very conniving, Matt.
I do my best. And for the record, I do enjoy playing poker.
You do. Also, you didn't invite me to this journey. Like, you pretty much forced me into it. Kicking and screaming.
Kind of. I mean, I brought up the idea of a podcast and got you to agree to it.
I wasn't a willing participant at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I did kind of have to drag you into it, but like you said, I kind of threw you to the wolves right away and made sure you got hooked.
Yeah, and here we are, me crying over stupid chapters.
All right, next email from Jessica.
Hi, Jessica.
Says, hi, Josh and Matt. Interesting chapters this week. Just a couple of thoughts. I hate that Cedric had to die. Just proves how terrible Voldemort really is. I'm guessing Josh never saw this coming. I know I didn't the first time through. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
Also, I've always been under the assumption that Voldemort created this spell that gave him his body back. Gave him back his body. Which I think we kind of discussed that. I think the one that I think that's the one that we decided was a bit of old dark magic.
Yeah.
So I don't think he actually created that one. I think that's something that existed, but in any case, someone created it somewhere along the way, somehow, I guess, or someone figured it out one way or another. So she's wondering, how would you have tested this spell or potion? How did you know it would work? How did you even think? How did you even think to come up with it? Yeah, I mean, I've wondered about that about other potions and spells along the way too.
Sure.
Like, I think we discussed it way back in the day, like the Polyjuice potion. Like, whoever the first one to come up with that, like, how did you test that? How many times did you get it wrong? Like, there's that stipulation there that you're not supposed to use it with animals.
Right.
That obviously means that someone figured out that it went wrong when he used it with animals.
Right.
So, like just the testing processes with these things, like, I wouldn't want to be the one in most cases, I think, coming up with new spells and potions.
Sure.
Unless you were really that good and could get it like the first try, it just worked for you.
I mean, in the same like vein, like, was it something that could be tested at all? Like, the form that we saw Voldy in, like, that's not a normal.
That's also true. Yeah.
Form for a being to be in. He was supposed to be killed. He was basically just a nothing. Just a who know. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't even know if there's accurate words to describe what he was before, like this little fetus thing that he was. Like when he was just like a puddle of muck in the forest. So like, is that like a normal form for anybody to ever be in to have the opportunity to get their body back? Like, it's all of it is not normal, and I think it was kind of like just a blind leap of faith on Voldemort that it was going to work, because what else, like, if it didn't work, then he's back to the drawing board, but if it does work, then awesome,
Yeah, he's back at full strength.
Yeah. I mean, what did he have to lose for trying it to see if it did?
Yep.
And I think he's very confident in his magic, and his ability to make things happen. So I think that went a long way in ensuring that this was successful. There was no hesitation in it. It was let's do this. Here we go.
There you go.
So.
She says, finally, I love the scene with Priori Incantatem. Harry finally being able to see his parents, being able to interact with people from Voldemort's wand, that and the Phoenix song for Harry, that is a soothing sound. I just love how J.K. wrote this.
Yeah. Forgot about the Phoenix song.
Yeah. It kind of also continually gave Harry his confidence, too.
Which, did that happen because both of their wands have Phoenix tails in them?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm that okay. Do you remember exactly what we know about those wands?
I know they both have a phoenix tail feather from the same bird. That's why.
There you go. From the same bird.
Right. And that's why Ollivander was so taken back by the wand that chose Harry, because he's like, oh.
Yes, I believe he went as far as calling it its brother. Like, he called the wands brothers.
Right. Very curious.
So, that's a good way of putting it for now. Very curious.
Makes me wonder if that old Phoenix in Dumbledore's office has anything to do with this.
Muggle theories.
We'll find out.
Anyway, she says, thanks for these podcasts. I love them. I can't wait to finish this book, which we will in one more week.
Yay.
All right. Next email from Joe.
Hey, Joe.
It says, hey, guys, these are the chapters where the whole series takes a turn down a more serious path. I love these chapters. And I would have loved to have seen a live feed of Josh's reactions to these, but this podcast will have to do.
I was a mess. Nobody wanted to see it. Trust me.
I think earlier in the book, Josh predicted that one of the champions may die, but it appeared over the past few weeks he abandoned that theory and certainly didn't think it would have been Cedric. Interesting to note that Cedric's wand carried a unicorn hair core, and we know unicorns are one of the purest animals, and killing one would leave you to have a cursed life. Cedric is the archetype of a unicorn, being from Hufflepuff and pure at heart, and it's fitting that Voldemort, via Wormtail, would take him out with no remorse, as he had Quirrell do in the first book. There's so much in these chapters that I'll try not to be too long-winded here. I wish Cedric would have done something to protect himself or try to fight back. He had his wand at the ready, so I don't see why he was caught off guard by Wormtail attacking him. Cedric dying sucks, but certainly sets Voldemort up as a hated villain, as if he wasn't one already.
Yeah. I think Cedric was as surprised as everybody else was. Like,
yeah,
he had his wand at the ready, not thinking he was going to have to defend his life with it so quickly. You know, like maybe he was going to need to light up a path or move something around or I don't know, block something, but like just to, you know, like that, lights out. He couldn't have been ready for it.
Is a split-second decision, which we've seen from the first three books, that's something Harry has innately. That's just built into his personality. Yeah. He has that quick reaction speed. He can think on his feet like that. Whereas Cedric, he's been going to school for the past 7 years. He learns his magic in a classroom. He hasn't been in duels. He hasn't been in fights like Harry has. He
hasn't been having to watch over his back for 4 years thinking somebody might be trying to kill him either.
Yeah. He's not expecting that. And when it came down to it, once again, it was Avada Kedavra, which you can't block.
Right.
There is no counter curse for it.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point of this. That's why it's so unforgivable, is because you like we said, Harry is the only one ever that has been known to survive this curse.
Right.
And now he's essentially done it twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like, even if he did have a fast enough reaction time, anything he would have done, I don't think would have helped him either. Right. Voldemort tells Harry about his upbringing, having no parents and being raised in an orphanage. Yet he also did the same to Harry. He knew how bad it was not having parents and seemed to take delight in making Harry an orphan as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't really want to make Harry an orphan.
he wanted Harry to be dead.
Kill Harry. The parents got in the way. Like he wasn't even there to kill the parents.
Right.
He would have gladly just killed Harry and left, I think.
Yeah.
Voldemort goes on to say about 3 of the 6 missing Death Eaters that one is too afraid and will pay, one he fears to bless him forever and he will die, and one who is his most faithful servant. Josh, any guesses to who each of these are? I know you're going to get this question a lot in the next couple of emails, so.
Well, maybe we'll save it for Muggle theories. How about that?
All right.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough.
I'll pull out my whiteboard and strings and pictures and see if I can put together a clear picture of who these 3 mystery Death Eaters might be.
Perfect. Voldemort stated his goal was to conquer death, and that one or more of his experiments seemed to work. Any idea what he was doing to try to conquer death?
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah. Little sidebar here, but Voldemort said that Wormtail communicated with other rats when he was in his rat form. That's pretty cool as an Animagi. That an Animagi can communicate with other animals of its kind. I would agree. Yeah. It's not something we've ever really talked about before. But, I mean, if they obviously can't communicate, like, they don't turn into an animal and speak English.
Right.
They can communicate with other animals then, as other animals would.
Right. So. I think I've even asked you about that too when we were talking about turning into animals, like if they communicate with other animals, how all that works. So
sure, yeah. Like I said, we explore many of these topics further as we go along, so you'll get more answers.
Cool.
Let's see. We learned that Dumbledore put a spell on Harry that would protect him as long as he was at the Dursleys. So that's why he had to be at the Dursleys. How ironic, though, because he should have gotten protection from the Dursleys as well. Yes and no. I mean, obviously, Voldemort's trying to kill him, and Dursleys just want to make him unhappy. So,
right.
Which is worse?
Yeah.
Which can you live with?
Right.
I will give a lot of credit to Harry. He's one brave soul. To be able to face off with Voldemort refusing to just let him kill him, to face him like his father, knowing full well that he did not know enough to defeat Voldemort. I guess that's why he's a Gryffindor.
Mm.
Finally, how Harry can stay focused on what is needed to do, what he needed to do, while at the same time meeting his parents for the first time, even though they're spirits, which is something he wanted to do his entire life, is way beyond me. I think we kind of talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much to focus on at once. That's
yep.
Who knows how I did it? Just because he's Harry Potter. Lastly, if you thought these chapters were good, the final 3 are just as good in my opinion. Keep your seatbelt fastened. I don't know if "good" is the right word to be using right now.
No, I don't know how they could be good at all. It's gonna be a horrific end to this book, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Next email from Scott.
Hey, Scott.
It says, hey, guys, just listened to the last episode today and loved it. Lots of interesting theories and discussions. I'm excited to hear the Muggles' reactions to the first bit of wrap-up. I'd be interested to hear if the portkey stuff surprised him, or was he expecting foul play? I know he said the bad stuff wasn't over, but he did know it was but did he know it was lurking around the page?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
and like I said, like I kind of suspected that was a portkey, but I didn't think it was going to go the way that it did by any means. So,
yeah. I like we were saying, I having the cup as a portkey wouldn't have been a surprise if it just took them to the beginning of the maze and said, "Hey, you're the winner.
Right.
You touched it first."
Yep.
But yeah, that's not what happened, obviously. Were you surprised to hear some of the names of the Death Eaters?
No, I don't think so. They're all pretty straightforward. I mean,
yeah,
Malfoy, Crabbe, Goyle, they all kind of shook out the way I've kind of suspected from the beginning. So,
yeah. And then says, I'm sure he's writhing in as much pain as Wormtail that he has to wait another week to learn who the faithful servant could be. And I bet there have already been plenty, but any theories?
Wait and find out, my friends.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
All right. Next email from our headmistress, Mel B.
Hi, Mel B.
Oddly enough, not our last by any means.
She was eager to get in on this discussion.
I think that the date change helped, actually.
Oh, that's
recording
true.
On Tuesday. She had more time. She says, it's a trap. I'm sure everyone has pointed out that Josh was lulled into such a false sense of security and victory in the last chapter. But no, it's a disaster. Before I get on to that, what does Josh have against short and pretty people? First, he's all up in Flitwick's business, saying he can't help anyone because he's too short. Then he was saying that Fleur was never really a competitor to win the Triwizard Tournament because she was too pretty. Well, I see how it is, Josh.
See, it's short and also pretty that I have no problems with. But, like, you know, I'm short and pretty, Matt, you know, so look.
It's true.
Flitwick, again, you know, somebody pointed out on Twitter that, like, Flitwick was a dueling champion at one point.
Yep.
Okay, that's what you've told me. I've never seen that in action. I don't know anything about Flitwick. The books sure aren't helping me learn more about these professors I'm so eager to learn more about. And then Fleur Delacour, like, she was just eye candy. Like, she wasn't ever put in the tournament to be a serious contender. Let's be real.
Oh, yeah. Say what you will.
Yeah. She was just, you know, trying to make up for all the dumb boys in the tournament. And, you know, add a different angle to it. But
sure.
Yeah.
Also, something I wanted to bring up last week but forgot. Does anyone else think it's weird that they work on a point system in the Triwizard Tournament, but the points only mean that you get a head start in the maze? Anyone could win regardless of what happens in the first 2 tasks, but no one wins this one. Not really, which gets me in this week's chapters.
I don't think that's weird. I think that's pretty standard.
Yeah, that never bothered me at all. Like it. I mean, obviously, the points weren't that far off, so their head start wasn't that great necessarily.
Right.
But I think that's a good way to go about it. Sure. So, like, one of the champions isn't so far out of the running by the 3rd task that they just give up.
Yeah.
Like that, you wouldn't want that.
Or like alternatively, like somebody grabs the cup, and like wins the maze, but they don't have enough points to actually be champion, then like that's pretty anticlimactic also.
It's true.
So I think it makes sense.
Yeah, it does seem weird that it's there are only 3 tasks and it's points, and then maze.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think the only better way to do it would have been like the first 2 tasks were elimination, but that would have worked any other time because there's always just 3 wizards.
Yeah, there's only supposed to be 3.
Yeah, so it would have worked in this circumstance, but mostly it wouldn't ever work any other way. So
true.
Yeah, I'm not upset about it.
Fair enough. Says, welcome, Josh, officially to the Harry Potter fandom, where you witness such terrifying scenes as this and suffer heartbreak and hardship. Kill the spare. I just want to say she's at least the second person now to write that phrase, kill the spare, in here. And I've had a couple people this weekend, like when I was visiting family, and I was talking about, I had to delay the podcast by a day because I was out of town with them. And they asked me like where I was. Like they've all read the books,
sure. And
that was basically what I told them. I'm at Kill the Spare, and they knew exactly where I was.
It's horrible.
Like it's everybody knows that phrase. Anyone who's read Harry Potter knows that phrase and knows exactly what it means and where you are in the book. So, I just find it interesting that people keep using that line over and over as much as you hate it.
Sure. It's tough memory right now, Matt.
Well, I think Mel's kind of there with you. She says, this line sends chills down my spine to this day. Yeah. Voldemort doesn't even think of Cedric as a person or of any value. He doesn't say, kill the boy. He uses the word spare. He's just an accident that stumbled in on his plan. He is of no value, no consequence. Cedric was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Cedric isn't even someone we as the audience have been encouraged to care about or think much about more than any other side character, and I think that makes it more painful. It's not like Voldemort killed someone who's close to Harry Potter to hurt Harry or anything like that. He had Cedric killed because he was just not needed.
Yeah.
Josh, do you remember in Harry's dream, Voldemort said to Wormtail he was going to have the honor of performing a task for Voldemort that most supporters would give their right hand for?
No, but that's very telling.
That's very JK.
Huh?
Yep. That's one of those that, like, your first time through the book, you probably won't connect it because they're so far apart in the book, even if you plow through it. But your second time through, when you realize what he's referencing, it's like, oh, yeah, he did give his right hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, love the writing. We see Voldemort return only for him to monologue. Seriously, this guy has no idea how this works. When a villain monologues, it means that the hero is going to get an opportunity to survive. There's an awesome list of things to do as a villain that will guarantee your success, and monologues and fair fights are a big no-no. Just kill the enemy. But through the monologue, we learn a lot of information. A thought that I had while reading these chapters. Harry had Remus and Sirius spare Wormtail's life, and by doing so, Wormtail got away and was able to find Voldemort. Knowing what you know now, do you think Harry should have let Wormtail be killed? Personally, I think Sparing someone's life separates the heroes from the villains, and as we've seen, the villains have no mercy or humanity. Even though sparing Wormtail led to the resurrection of Voldemort, I feel Harry did the right thing. He kept the heroes as heroes. Thoughts?
It's tough. It's catch-22 because,
Yep.
he spared one life, but also could be said that he's responsible for taking another, which is Cedric's.
Yeah.
By doing so, So it's tough. It's a moral quandary that doesn't have a right answer.
Very true.
Yeah.
With the Death Eaters turning up so quickly in their masks and robes, I always think about the scene from The Incredibles where the character voiced by Samuel L. Jackson is asking, "Where is my super suit?" Can you just imagine a Death Eater shouting at his wife, asking where his Death Eater robes are, and she's upset because it's date night? Oh, the Dark Lord just needs to decides to summon for the first time in 13 years without warning, and now you're skipping on date night? Well, no, I won't tell you where your robes are. Honey, now is not the time. I need to go see the Dark Lord. It's for the greater evil. I'm your wife. I'm the greatest evil you'll ever have. It's quite the dialogue you got going on there, Mel. I kind of want to see that animated now, but I do not have the skills to do that. So
that'd be great.
Lucius Malfoy turns up as one of the Death Eaters, although I don't think anyone is surprised by that.
Nope.
And McNair, the evil executioner, is back, and the Death Eater because animal killers are evil.
Yes.
Voldemort says the Dementors will join his forces. Do you think he will succeed?
Probably. I don't feel like they're...
He seems pretty confident.
Yeah, I don't think they're hard to convince to go one way or the other. As long as they get theirs in the end, they don't care which side they're
on. So we learned there are 3 missing Death Eaters, and we know of 2 that are at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Karkaroff and Snape.
Right.
So, of course, she wants to know which you think is which.
Right.
But we already covered that.
Yep.
We'll get an answer later, hopefully.
Yes, I'll lay that out.
Voldemort makes a huge villain mistake by deciding to fight his enemy one-on-one, but the scene actually brought me to tears reading it. The ghosts of Voldemort's victims come out to stand by Harry, his mother and father. My heart breaks.
Yeah.
So Harry escapes Lord Voldemort, but there's still so much we don't know. So until next week, Melby.
Yeah, next week's going to be interesting. It's, I'm excited and not so much at the same time.
It'll be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next email from Marissa.
Hi, Marissa.
Says, hi, Josh. Matt, my very first thought at the end of chapter 32 was, at least Matt didn't include this chapter with last week. Josh would have lost his freaking mind to add that ending. And then I got to the ending of chapter 34 and thought, oh man, that's a pretty bad cliffhanger too. Yeah, we get a lot of them here.
No good way to do that, Matt.
I know.
Yeah.
And then reading Josh's notes made me sad all over again after being sad while reading the chapters. Poor Josh, losing the only major Hufflepuff that we've read about thus far. These chapters are just the worst up until this point.
Yeah.
Cedric didn't have to die. He didn't have to take the cup with Harry. He was trying to be noble, and then Harry made him take the cup with him, and he died.
Yeah.
Way to go, Harry. Well, Josh was right about the Death Eater tattoos. They are marked as a Death Eater. Major props on that one. There's not too much more really to say. These chapters are pretty self-explanatory and awful. Yeah. And the stuff that's confusing, the Golden Web, etc., gets elaborated on in the next chapters. So I'll say no more here. Hang in there, Josh.
I'm trying.
All right.
You guys are helping, I'll say that much.
Got an email from Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
It says, hey, guys, I hope you're doing okay, Josh. I remember the first time I read these chapters because it was at my grandparents' house over Thanksgiving break when I was just 13 years old. I think I reread the moment when Cedric dies at least 5 times before it sank in that a character had just died. And then, in the same chapter, Voldemort returns. I couldn't stop reading until I finished the book. So, Josh, I'm sure you are dying to continue reading to the end as well. Reading the Muggle Notes today was very nostalgic for me because I remember having almost the same exact thoughts on my first read. It's still difficult to reread these chapters, and especially to stop at the end of chapter 34 today.
Yeah.
So, Josh, ready for the next? Are you ready for next week and the last 3 chapters? Any predictions about how everything gets tied up?
No, I'm not really excited because I know it's, there's going to be a lot of pain and misery in the next few chapters, and sadness, and it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. And I don't think everything is going to get wrapped up. I still think that there's going to be things left wide open. So
sure,
we'll see. I just don't know how some of the things that I'm curious about fit into the rest of this book, emotionally.
Yeah.
Who cares about house elves anymore, and their freedoms at this point. That is the farthest thing from anybody's mind once Harry gets back to Hogwarts, and everything that just happened. So, I mean, there's so many little things that I was following along this entire book that are just off the table at this point, because how do you rebound from this to go into that kind of storytelling? I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Next email from Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
Actually, this was our winner from this week.
Chelsea. All right.
Yeah. Says, hey, Josh and Matt. Well, I was dreading these chapters because things get really quick. I'm pretty sure that Cedric is the first major death that we as readers get to experience, and it's not fun at all. Voldy is back, and we finally get confirmation of what we already know. Draco's dad is a Death Eater. I actually forgot about Crabbe and Goyle being mentioned here. Should we assume that these are the fathers of Draco's friends? I absolutely think so.
Yeah.
Did his dad tell him to befriend Crabbe and Goyle because he knew their fathers held the same views? And I think I kind of mentioned that in the episode.
Yeah.
I think they have a history. I think they go way back.
Sure.
They've been together for a while. But she says, on the bright side, today marks the day that Dobby earned his freedom. So happy day of freedom, Dobby.
That's I want to celebrate that, but
there you go.
We can't.
So silver lining.
I guess so.
All right. Next email from Harry, not Potter.
Hi, Harry, not Potter.
Oh, Josh. Yeah. To quote the 10th Doctor from Doctor Who, I am sorry. I am so sorry. While Voldemort may have called Cedric the Spare, just know that to us he will always be so much more. So the Triwizard Cup was a port key, and this was all part of the grand plan to lure Harry to Voldemort to complete this ritual. I have to question Voldemort's plan and how it could have gone horribly wrong. I mean, if the port key can be any ordinary household object, why not make the port key something Harry is absolutely certain to use on a daily basis, like a sock or his dinner fork? Why risk it all on this tournament? Though it would have been a fascinating conversation between Wormtail and Voldemort if Victor Crumb showed up holding the cup instead. Maybe whoever set all this up just did not have the access.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, whoever would have delivered the port key would have had to be in Harry's room, dormitory, to put an object there that he would grab and use.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be tricky. Also, I mean, we wouldn't have had this book if it was that simple. So.
Also true. Also, I have to commend Matt for combining all 3 of these chapters into 1 week's reading, though I'm sure Josh is eager to learn what happens next.
Yeah.
That he is. Next email from Brent.
Hey, Brent.
Says, hey guys, just a quick note to share my thoughts on this week's reading. Josh wasn't ready for it. At the end of last week, he was like, oh, look, they touched the cup. They transported somewhere. Looks like there's part 2 to this task. Yay. Can't wait to see what happens. Can't wait to see what they have to do to win this thing. Josh wasn't ready for the graveyard. He wasn't ready for Wormtail to cut off his own hand. He wasn't ready for Voldemort to rise again, only this time without his nostrils. He wasn't ready for Voldy to be able to touch Harry. He wasn't ready for the Death Eaters' return, although it was nice of them to leave space for the missing Death Eaters. So, good news, Josh. Grab your wand and take your place in line.
Yeah.
Since you do have a Death Eater wand, it's true.
Why are we bringing that up this week of all weeks?
Josh wasn't ready for Voldemort to be just as powerful. He wasn't ready for the wands to link up and form a cage. He wasn't ready for the echoes of Harry's parents to emerge from the wand. In short, Josh just wasn't ready. And now, everything changes. Bring on next week. Bring on the Order of the Phoenix. Which, if you don't remember, is book 5.
No, if you had asked me what the next book was,
I know.
No way I could have guessed what it was.
and that's why I mentioned it for you.
Sure.
All right. So, yes, to sum up that email, you weren't ready, which I think...
How could I have been?
You would agree.
Ugh.
All right. Let's see. I think we got two emails left.
Okay.
This one from Atari Alex.
What's up, Alex?
It says, Dear Josh and Matt, I didn't come up with a riddle for this week, but since these chapters are all doom and gloom, I thought I'd offer some comic relief with a joke. How does Harry Potter get down the stairs?
I don't know.
Walking. JK, rolling.
Okay, thank you, Alex. I needed that.
Says, thank you, I'll be here all week.
Yeah.
So, these chapters, heavy stuff. But there are some great gems in here too, mainly questions about the nature of magic. Up to this point in the series, we haven't really been given a set of rules to which magic is confined, but with a few exceptions, I'm looking at you, ghost physics, it seems to be at least more or less consistent as to what can and can't be done. That is until we reach Voldemort's revival ceremony, which mixes a hodgepodge of ingredients with a cool but freeform incantation, a stark departure from the Latin base we've become accustomed to when magic is performed with wands. What we see here is much more akin to something you would see in Charmed, the TV series,
okay,
where you can pretty much anything as long as it rhymes. Shortly thereafter, we see Voldemort replace Wormtail's bleeding stump with a new magical hand, which is, again, pretty radically different from the type of magic we've seen up to this point. Now, you could look at this several ways. One very strong possibility is that Voldemort is such a powerful wizard that he simply defies the known conventions of magic to achieve his purposes. I would definitely buy that theory. Or J.K. Rowling is introducing us to a more complex magic that cannot be achieved with simple incantations such as Harry has observed these past 4 years. Or perhaps it is all just to serve a more dramatic tone for the books going forward. I certainly don't know, but I suppose part of the magic of the series is that it can be interpreted so many ways, which continues to make the series fresh no matter how many times you read it. So yeah, that's an interesting take there. I've kind of attributed it to that's kind of why I wanted to bring up where he mentions that it's old magic and ancient magic that he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that magic is performed in different ways than the newer, more conventional magic. I would combine that with what he was saying, that Voldemort's magic is light years above and beyond anything we've seen performed at Hogwarts by these fourth-year students.
Right.
As opposed to Voldemort, who's been around for 50 plus years and doing the greatest, most dark, evil magic that he can find.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I definitely think part of it is he just knows so much more, and there is so much more that they haven't learned in school. But I think a part of it is that in this specific case that it is that old magic.
Yeah. which is kind of hard to wrap your head around. Because like on the surface level, you think it's just something that comes out of the wand that makes something else do something. So like the old magic and like current new day magic and like it's all very confusing on the surface level.
Yeah.
And like this is like our first time really digging into the fact that there is like old magic and
yep. It's expanding the world again.
Yeah. So I'm eager to learn more about it for sure.
Absolutely. Well, our last email of the week came in mid-show. The only one that came in mid-show this week.
Ooh.
But goes to Rose F. Death.
What's up, my friend?
Says, well, guys, I just wanted to say that this is my favorite movie. I don't think that's a very popular opinion, actually.
Huh. Okay.
But apparently this is his favorite movie. The maze and the competition is what makes this movie the best for me. So you'll have to watch for that, Josh. I also like to say, sorry, Josh. 1, for the movie. 2, because you cannot listen to Witch Weekly, Mel B's podcast. You would actually fit right in on the Headmistress's podcast. She gives such insight on different thoughts and is such fun to listen to. Matt, are you listening to Witch Weekly? Well, Rose F. Death out. Can't wait to hear the next podcast soon. I started listening to the first episode. I have not had time to get back to it. That's actually what I should have done on my flights this weekend.
Hindsight.
Yep. But
must be nice to be allowed to do stuff like that, Matt.
I know. We'll, like I said, we'll get you there eventually.
Yeah, I wish.
But yeah, and I do plan on listening to it because I know, well, not only is it our headmistress, but I know other people have been wondering about it. I'd love to be able to give a actual recommendation other than I kind of know the person who's running it.
Yeah, she's pretty okay. So
yeah, like I feel like I should actually listen to it before I give recommendations. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, I'm going to, Matt. So
okay.
One of us has to.
I'll get on that.
Okay.
I'll get on that.
All right.
But that's it. That's all the emails we have this week.
It was good. I thank everybody for their emails, especially this week. This week was tough. And I'm glad everybody's kind of on the same page as me when it comes to how hard these chapters were. So it's nice hearing from everybody, for sure. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Before we sign off here, we have to do what we promised to do, and that's yet another giveaway. Matt, what are we giving away this week?
This week we are going to give away another dragon. This is going to be dragon number 3. We've already given away the first 2 dragons. We have our first 2 champions. This will be our 3rd champion. And we will have a 4th champion. However, once again, I will reiterate that dragon number 4 is going to be Patreon exclusive. I'll be picking one of our Patreon members to win that dragon. So I will be picking the winner on June 1st. So you probably still have a couple hours by the time you listen to this.
Yep.
To head over to Patreon and support us over there if you want to enter yourself in that portion for dragon number 4.
And that's any tier, right?
What's that?
That's any tier on Patreon.
Correct. It doesn't matter how much you're pledging at all. Just all of our Patreon members, I will put you all in a random number generator and pick one out.
Yep.
So just in case you're wondering, the 4th dragon is not going to be dragon number 3 is the last one we'll be doing as giveaway here on the show.
Right.
I will announce the winner for dragon number 3 obviously then next week, and dragon number 4 I'll announce the week after that, which I believe will be our movie week.
Okay.
So we'll get all those announced.
And for those not following along, we're giving away these 4 dragons. These are going to be our 4 champions. Once we have our 4 champions, each one of them will be entered into another random
secondary drawing,
where you have a 1 in 4 chance of winning.
Yep.
And we will select a grand champion from that pool of winners.
Yes. So. That prize should be bigger and better than anything we've given away to this point.
And all of this is because of your support on Patreon. I want to stress that. Like, we are able to do this because of all you amazing folks out there that are supporting us and what we're doing here. We are giving back as much as we possibly can to you guys out there who support us so much. So, thank you to everybody for that. Matt, I could come up with something really clever and creative to do this final giveaway. But my heart's just not in it. It's really not.
Okay.
With that being said, it's also the beginning of a new month. We are closing out the end of this book. I think this is the best time to do another drive for iTunes reviews. Obviously, the more iTunes reviews that this show gets, the more we are able to be found by new listeners. Our community grows bigger and bigger. Each week we're getting emails about people that are just finding us and marathoning through our entire catalog of episodes and catching up, and it's happening more and more, and that definitely helps with iTunes reviews. So that being said, we've done this many times for different giveaways. Simple enough. All you have to do is leave an iTunes review. If you take a screenshot of the review in process and send it over to Matt at talesfromgodric's@gmail.com, that will be your entry into this giveaway. If you have already entered into an iTunes review giveaway before, if you've already left your review, you're already entered into this one. So no need to do anything else if you've already done this. But if you haven't left an iTunes review, this is your opportunity to do so. It will enter you into this giveaway. It also helps us and the show and the community that you're all a part of. So it's a win-win-win for everybody involved.
Yep.
How's that sound, Matt?
I like it. Yeah, we haven't done an iTunes giveaway in a while, so yeah, good time for it.
I think so. So get those in. Like I said, just make a screenshot of your review, and so Matt could see who it is, because iTunes has this weird thing of like anybody could leave a review with any name, and it doesn't necessarily match up to emails or Twitter handles or anything like that. So,
and the other big reason we do it this way is so anyone, like if I go into iTunes, I can only see reviews from the US.
Right.
So we want to open this up to the world.
Absolutely.
And so if you're in a different country, that's even more so why I need you to send me that screenshot, because I won't be able to see it otherwise.
And we know plenty of you don't listen to it on iTunes. You listen to it on the website or Stitcher or through the Patreon feed or however you listen to it. iTunes reviews is just the most powerful. It has the most impact on the show actually getting some legs under it. So we do implore you to even set up an iTunes account just to make a review. You don't have to listen to the show on iTunes if you don't want to, but that helps us out. So, and ultimately helps you all out. So get those in before next week. We are recording next Monday unless tragedy strikes. So you have until then to get them in. And as I said before, if you've already done so, sit back and relax. You get a week off of having to do anything to enter a contest. And you might be lucky enough to be the third champion and recipient of one of the dragons.
You got it.
The Chinese fireball, and what was the other one that has been taken?
That's actually a good question. Oh, the Welsh Green.
Oh, okay.
Been taken as well.
Okay. So those two are off the table. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, so we have the Swedish short snout and the Hungarian horntail are left.
There we go. Your choice of those two. So that's it. Matt, thank you for forcing me to do this episode. It was important for the healing process, I think, to get this done.
Definitely.
Didn't want to. I dreaded it up until we hit record, so. But it was necessary, I think. You can find me on Twitter personally at The Noise with a Y. Please be sure to follow the show on Twitter at Tales from GH. You can follow us on Instagram, Tales from Godric's Hollow. You can check out the website, talesfromgodricshollow.com. And that has, you could play the episodes, it has the reading schedule, all that fun stuff. And like we've said several times this episode, if you'd like to support us and what we're doing here for you guys, the listening audience, the amazing fan base that we have, you can do so over on Patreon, patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Matt, where can the wonderful, wonderful people find you at?
You can always find me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Otherwise, as Josh has mentioned a number of times already, whether sending in an iTunes review or an email for this week or whatever the case may be, anything you just don't want Josh to see, you can send me an email at talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com.
Next week, we wrap up Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I'm not ready. Matt, are you?
Of course I am.
All right. Well, I'm glad somebody is on the show. This episode is dedicated to Cedric Diggory. May he rest in peace. Oh, Captain, my champion, if you will. Till next week. Muggle out.
Mischief managed.